Coming up.
Basically, stop your opponent from developing their key piece, and this way they won't be the one dictating the pace.
Today, I have an Italian Worlds competitor, Lorenzo Terlizzi, from Team Worldly Council, to learn how to pilot Vivi Cauldron, and mastering the mirror match and the decisions that make or break this deck. You don't want to miss it. The first thing that I think is really difficult about this deck is how many decisions you can actually make or think about each turn. So I'm very used to playing like, I guess, other decks where there's some level of cantripping, or like there's very clear lines and I generally follow the turn after turn. But here it reflects so many different things I could do, right? So generally, like when you play a deck like this, how do you navigate that?
So first of all, I think it's very important to know where you want to put yourself to win a game. You know, like once you master a deck, you kind of understand all the positions that are going to eventually lead you to a win. And from turn 0, so from your beginning, from your opening hand, you start basically like seeing a path to victory, and yeah, like seeing how you develop the game to reach that point. So, and yeah, as you also say, like with this deck, you have a lot of different decisions every turn, and it's also very, like, particularly the mechanic of looting, you know, like drawing and discarding, or I mean, better to say, like, especially with this deck, more like, yeah, drawing and discarding is like a mechanic that basically leaves you with so many choices, like both with sequencing, so based on which creature you play first, you know, like, do you play Scholar this turn? Do you play Winter Knight instead? Do you play a Mako and a FOMO? You know, for example, this is an example of a turn 3. And then, first of all, you have to choose, like, yeah, which card you actually play. And then with all these different choices of looting, you also have to choose what to discard. So which cards you want to keep in your hand to put yourself in this position to eventually win the game.
Yeah, so basically, from what I'm hearing, is that we have a general game plan, like how we want to reach that end state, right? And then what you're saying is, like, once we know what the end state is, as we're taking our turns, we're making decisions to try to arrive at that end state, also keeping in mind then the looting to try and, like, get us there, right? So even though there's a lot of decisions, we're still trying to, like, get to that point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, got it. So I read through your guide. It's very good. There's a lot of really, really good information in it. And one of the things I really like about your guide, which for everyone watching, you know, you could find on Metafy, is there's a bunch of really key cards you highlight in this matchup, right? One is Profs, and then the other one is obviously Cauldron Vivi, right? Yeah. And when I look at a hand like this is our first 7, we're on the draw. Technically, we could take game actions, right? We could play Mako, we could burn a thing, pretending the Thundering Falls is an untapped land. We could draw a card. The issue is that none of the cards that we want are actually in this hand. So I think it's a mull. What do you think?
It's very, very close. Sorry, first of all, is this a open deck list? Like, do we know what's our opponent playing?
Yeah, our opponent's playing. This is the mirror. It's exactly the same deck. Perfect. Exactly same 75. All
right. So in the 75 mirror match, yeah, the game 1 is particularly hard to navigate because whoever's on the play has a pretty decent advantage, as they are the first one to develop one of their key pieces, you know, so either Prof or Cauldron, and they can dictate the pace of the game based on this thing, you know, because if they start with a Cauldron, and then you're kind of forced to interact with it, because otherwise they just, you know, do their thing with Vivi Cauldron. Otherwise, if they play Prof, you're kind of falling behind, because then they'll start playing Sarah's Angel for 3 mana, you know, before you do. And so it kind of puts you in a bad spot. Whereas post-sideboard, you're kind of fine also on the draw, because with cards like Annul and Spell Pierce, you basically stop your opponent from developing their key piece, and this way they won't be the one dictating the pace if you're able to stop this turn 2 play.
Yeah, I love what you're saying with dictating the pace. I think that's like a really easy way to think about how to navigate your role in the game, right? Like if your opponent is dictating the pace and you're trying to do your best to like nullify that and like, you know, take control back and then go back and forth. I think it's very easy to, at least for me, get distracted by like, oh, I'll die to Cauldron. I'll die to this. But dictating the pace is like a bigger kind of like gameplay thing.
Yeah.
But on the draw, because our opponent has such a large advantage, what do you think about this hand? Should we mulligan for something stronger or what?
Yeah, this hand is very close because I mean it has ways like Mako and Torch of kind of trying to keep up with the opponent dictating the pace. Mako, because it kind of grows the same pace as our opponent's creatures if they go for Proft, right? So like let's say they play a Scholar or a FOMO on turn 3 after playing Proft. So those are 3/4s or 4/4s. And Mako kind of keeps up. Plus we can also torch that, like if they go for Scholar, we can torch it before it becomes bigger. But on the other hand, yeah, since we don't have one of our key piece, we might be tempted to mulligan for it, especially for Cauldron, because on the draw, our best way to win basically is to go turn 2 Cauldron and try to assemble our Vivi Cauldron on turn 3 while our opponent just maybe plays for the Proft plan. You know, like often it happens that when we're on the draw, they go turn 2 Proft, then we go turn 2 Cauldron, and this puts our opponent in a kind of choke, right? Because yeah, they might want to optimize their mana and play Steam Core Scholar to, you know, have a 4/4 and smooth their hand. But if we have Cauldron, you know, we're threatening the Vivi Cauldron plan. So they kind of want to leave up mana for either Floodmo or a Braid, or they can also just play their own Cauldron. But this way we slow them down a bit, and that might be good enough to, you know, get back in the game, like to not be outpaced by the fact that they were on the play.
Yeah, and I think I love what you're saying with, or what we're highlighting here is even if we don't have the combo with the Vivi, the turn 2 Cauldron on the draw is just so threatening that it gives us time to regain that or set the pace a bit or more opportunity to do that. All right, so just to move on from the mulligan, I ended up mulliganing this because I was concerned that it's close, right? Like we can definitely take game actions and we could potentially draw pretty well. I don't like the Thundering Falls just because like we're kind of stuck on it and we're really behind. So I mulligan this to try and hit like a better 6. And I think this is like a way better 6 than our last 7 because I'm quite happy with this. We have an Abrade to answer their Cauldron if they have it. We have one of our key cards Props. We have another key card Vivi. So now the real decision that I spent a lot of time on is Steam Core or Winter Night. And here's how I thought about it, and I'm curious to see what you think. So Steam Core synergizes with the Profs really well, right? We can go, you know, Profs and Steam Core 4/4 Sarah Angel. By the way, I didn't like Steam Core for the longest time. People kept saying, you know, people will say like you draw up cards, and I like Terza. I like being able to turn sideways, beat someone up. But then when I read it's a 3-mana Sarah Angel, I was like, I'm sold. That's it, right? So we have 3-mana Sarah Angel here, really, really powerful. But then the Winter Night stories. So we think about how this game could play out. One way is that we die to their mid-range game. Or the aggressive plan, right? The other game is we die to like a longer game where they're able to sculpt their hand better or play a Riddler. And to me, Winter Night Stories represents that better. But Scholar is also just a good beater, right? So I actually couldn't pick which one. Like I will pick, but like that was the hardest decision with this hand. If we're playing against mono red, Scholar, like very easy, but we're not. We're playing against Vivi. So what do you think?
Yeah, I have a question. Like, didn't you consider bottoming Vivi? Because here, I think, knowing that we're playing the mirror match, I think I will bottom it.
That makes a lot of sense, especially if we don't have Cauldron.
Yeah, we don't have Cauldron, and usually the way I say Vivi in the mirror match, it's a double-edged sword, if that makes sense. You know, like it's a liability because, you know, you don't really want to discard it because your opponent, you know, could play their own Cauldron. And sure, you cannot cast it, but again, they can just play Cauldron and Abrade. So they do the thing. And, you know, I'd rather tap 3 mana to play a Scholar. So I think here I will bottom Vivi. And my turn to play will depend on what they play. You know, we have Abrade for a Cauldron, or we can Abrade in case they go for a super aggressive start. And otherwise, we can go for Proft. Then play Scholar, discard Winter Knight. So we get card advantage. Put 2 counters on Scholar, and then we can also use Scholar on the following turn to harmonize Winter Knight for 1 mana, and we can go from there.
Yeah, okay, that line actually is a lot better than either of the ones. So, yeah, I was just so fixated, and that's like the hardest part about this deck is that each card has its own story almost, right? Like when I look at Vivi, I can think like, well, I could try and Winter Knight and spike my own Cauldron, maybe catch up in the game later. But obviously, like it's also Vivi's a liability, so it's hard to figure out when I play a deck like this what's like the narrative I should be following for each card. But here we put away the Steam Core Scholar. That's what I did.
Okay. Yeah, what kind of frightens me about putting away Scholar is that we don't have like you're basically taking a more control-ish stance, which in some games is gonna let you win because, you know, you just go like Abrade on turn 2, then Proft on turn 3, or like Vivi turn 3, so then you follow up with Proft Winter Knight or like stuff like that. And you eventually put a lot of counters on Vivi, and then you win with that. But I kind of like more Scholar because it's both a way to dig through my deck, and also to, you know, have a beatdown plan.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Another reason why I was concerned about the Scholar, not that it's correct, is that we get really rewarded here. We like top deck the Mako, which is great. Because now this lets us have Mako Prof. So we want to. They don't play a Cauldron. But the thing about the Scholar was I was also worried. I was also thinking like they're not. The likelihood of us being able to kill them with the Scholar is somewhat lower. But I think, you know, I agree that we still need to present that option rather than just automatically assume that like the Scholar is not going to get there. So play Mako, and then on their turn, they play a Cauldron. So I did also think a lot here. So clearly we gotta blow up the Cauldron, right? Like I think we have to blow up the Cauldron, but there is like 2 other options. We could play Profs or we could play FOMO. And the reason why I spent time on this one is because I was thinking the only line that they could take that super duper punishes us is if they FOMO pitch Vivi, snap it on Vivi, or snap the Vivi onto FOMO, and then like we really lose. I guess they could also like it involves FOMO, right? If they don't have FOMO, then the only other option I can think of, actually no, they could also do it with Steam Core. So there's actually a lot of ways it can happen. But anyways, at the time I was worried about those draws, and I was thinking, well, there's also a chance that they don't have creature snap Vivi. And because we're on the draw, if we stick a FOMO or a Profs, we get to pressure them a lot better than if by just waiting a turn to Abrade afterwards. So those were the 2 options I saw with but the issue is that if they do have it, we lose, right? So what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Like this is the outcome, you know. Like if they have the like Luther plus Vivi, we're likely losing. So usually, like sometimes you won't get punished for taking the, let's say, like greedy line of playing Proft or FOMO, but I just rather not have a line that kind of beats me 100% of the time. Like if the opponent has the Vivi, plus Luther, yeah, we probably lose. And the fact that we have the answer for it kind of makes me want to like just pass, leave up a braid, and see what they do.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So here, I also thought about holding on the braid. I think that's the right thing to do, but I just did it anyways, just because they have it,
Yeah, the only reason to use a braid in your own turn is if you want to respect spell pierce.
But there's no spell pierce game one.
So. Exactly. Since there's no spell pierce, you can safely pass.
And I think it's better to also just pass here, because then like it represents something, right? If we abrade here, it gives them perfect information to react, to follow up however they want to. But if we do on their turn, they might take a play that is not optimal. We're gonna blow it up anyways. So next turn they play a land and then Winter Night Stories. So Winter Night Stories discards a Vivi, another Winter Night Stories.
Oh, that's interesting. So they discarded Vivi, which kind of
it's pretty scary.
Yeah, it's scary for them because we might have the Cauldron. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
for us here, we didn't hit the land we needed. So there's two options. Either we play Profs or we play FOMO. I opt to play FOMO just because we have another Profs. Pitching the Profs gives us Delirium, and we can't do anything about, if they have Cauldron, they have Cauldron. So I think the only other option is that we hope they don't have Cauldron, and then we put some board pressure and beat them.
Yeah, here it's very close. I usually prefer playing Prof in these scenarios because I like sticking Profs onto the battlefield gets us more like maximizes the number of +1/+1 counters. But on the other hand, since our opponent doesn't really have any board presence, it's also reasonable going for FOMO. Like I would still probably go for Prof because like maximizing the +1/+1 counters is important, especially since our opponent is our opponent plays basically our same threats, if that makes sense. So we don't want them like maximizing the number of +1/+1 counters makes our guys bigger.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I didn't even think about that. That's really good because I was so focused on like I want to regain tempo. Not that I lost it, but I really want to gain tempo here. But Profs is also a way of gaining tempo because then our creatures are valued higher. Like they're just stronger, right? Because we have one more turn of Profs than the other way around. That's so interesting. Okay, so I played the FOMO, pitched the Profs, draw a mountain, and then pretty clear, play mountain to beat them for 2. So let's see what they do. Island, and then Riddler.
Could be a Cauldron. Okay, now Winter Night worked. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they had Cauldron here, it would have been
it's over.
Pretty big disaster.
I think they do. Let's see. So they Winter Night and then discarded a Cauldron and discarded. Wait a second. Did they play land for turn? They did. That's why. Yeah, they played a land for turn and then discarded it. So they I'm trying to think through the they probably drew the other Cauldron off of the Winter Night.
Yes.
Probably what happened.
Yeah. I think so.
That's the only sequence where that would have worked out. So, okay. We have here on our turn, we can play Profs. We could play Winter Night Stories or jam the Vivi. Let me think for a second. So Profs lets us start to put damage on them more, but Winter Night Stories also lets us dig deeper and spend our mana better. What the issue is they have 7 cards in hand, right? They have 7 cards in hand. They pitched a Cauldron, and they have a Vivi in the graveyard. So I think there's only 2 outcomes for us, realistically. Somehow they whiff and we beat them really fast. That's like one game we have to play. Or the other line is we have to see more cards and pray to God we spike like a Flood Maw and like a land. So what do you think?
I kind of like here again, like playing Proft, because I like sticking it onto the battlefield before my opponent does, and here it's a great spot to put it onto the battlefield, because I mean, what can our opponent have? Floodmo, Torch the Tower, that's it for this turn. The fact that they discarded Agatha Soul Cauldron is super interesting, because it's possible that they drew 2 Cauldrons with Winter Night. Because, like imagine, since they have already Vivi in the graveyard, like a good way to get on board fast will be like on turn 5 to go, Cauldron, play a 3-drop, and then, from there, just do the thing. So, like, I'm kind of thinking of what their range could be. Like, 7 cards is a lot. So, there could be a 1-mana interaction spell, maybe 1 land, then a bunch of creatures, a bunch of Winter Knights, maybe. But, I assume there's probably another Agatha Soul Cauldron, because, they would have probably kept it.
So, one thing that I realized that I struggle with for this deck more is I get fixated on how many options that I have that I stop thinking about what my opponent has. I can do the opponent's hand a lot easier when it's other decks, but here I'm like trying to think like, what I can draw here, what can I spike, all this stuff. I actually forget about that. And I think that's like something that is really important to keep in mind, because here with the time that we're talking, we can figure out at least a land, at least a Soul Cauldron, right? We know that. Probably a creature, right? And probably one piece of removal, either Flood Maw or Torch. So 2 more cards left, could be anything. It still looks bad. It's still bad for us no matter what. So
I feel like the best outcome for us is that we go Proft now, put the counters on FOMO, so we get it out of the Abrade range, and they might Flood Maw the FOMO. And, if we draw the 4th on top land, then it's super fine for us, of course. And but maybe they don't interact with the FOMO at all. And this kind of leaves us with the next turn where we go Winter Night, get Delirium, and then we have FOMO plus Proft plus Winter Night, which is a pretty nice combo. Because
that makes sense. I picked the Winter Night because I was concerned about I want to see more cards. I really want to hit the land drop, and I really want to see if I can spike the removal. But I think it also makes sense that we play the Profs first, because our game here realistically is we have to hit them. Like, we have to like end the game soon. So I think getting on board with the Profs is right. The hard part for me is also if I play Profs and they have the Flood Maw, their Flood Maw negates our turn. Or like it sets us back pretty far, while the Winter Night is a little harder to interact with. But they're gonna have the Flood Maw no matter what. So here is interesting for the 2 discards. What would you pick?
I feel like I like going like I think I want to maximize the damage. So I might discard Vivi plus land. Sure, one could say, you can only you can also just discard one Vivi, right? But I like maximizing the number of counters on Mako, plus of course getting Delirium. And
so that's exactly what I thought too. And another thing that I kept in mind is like, I know they probably won't have enough time to clear our graveyards of Vivi, but I want to hold on to at least one just in case, like later I really want, like, mine's gone, theirs gone, and I can just boop boop if I spike my Soul Cauldron. So Yeah, that's exactly what we do. Also, just holding on to Winter Knight is useful here because we're going to try to play towards the profs next turn. And then we go to combat, and we do have... Do we have Delirium? We do, right? We have... Yeah, so this is interesting. I could flashback the stories to dig deeper, but I think I want to save it for next turn. So
yeah, I agree. And here they are still representing Floodmo, so they don't have Torch because they would have used it for sure on the Mako. This could be Floodmo, but this kind of lines up well for us because we have 1 mana up, and now we can replay the Mako. So also one super subtle detail is that here we could have kept the land in hand, so our opponent doesn't know whether we can recast Mako or not.
Yeah.
And so, it's like we give them basically less information. And so now, they're probably going to Floodmo anyways if they have it, but it's still a small game of information that is usually better to, not give to your opponent.
Yeah, I think it goes back to, I forgot which decision point earlier, where if we don't play the land, they might have taken the damage. I don't know why, but maybe, right? Like with the land, they know they probably have to bounce the Mako if they really don't want me to Winter Knight for some reason. It just gives them more, right? So
yeah.
I agree with that. So here they do Flood Maw the way it works out, and then I was trying to do it where like maybe they take the 4 and I like move to my turn and Winter Knight, but they didn't fall for it. So we replay the Mako. Potentially I could have just not played the Mako just to bluff like a Flood Maw for their Cauldron.
Maybe. I think it's still fine going for Mako because I think if they have it, they will go for it.
Yeah, we're gonna lose no matter. Yeah. Like they're just at that position where it doesn't matter as much. So here they warp it in. It gets really bad. There it is. They make a lot of mana. I'll click through this a little bit faster. They play profs. Very good. Play Scholar. Play Mako. And then add the counters on the Scholar. Play another Riddler and pass. So it's not like a true fizzle, but it's not terrible. It's bad, but it's not terrible. So here, did we draw yet? We have a land. Here I think I just want to Winter Knight first, just to see like what we have.
Yeah. Ideally, I think we Winter Knight for a Cauldron. So this way, if we find a Cauldron, it's great because we have Mako with the counters.
Yes.
Because we discard cards with Winter Knight. So then we put a counter on FOMO. Then we make mana with FOMO. We play, more Winter Knights like Proft, and then from there really we can go.
Yeah. So we are super lucky. We draw the Cauldron and also the Flood Maw for their blocker or Cauldron. So we discard 2 cards, the Vivi and the other profs, because that's the only options. Then here I play the land, and then the activation here. Okay, let me get to the point where we play the Cauldron. So the activation is a little tricky. Is just take theirs, do it. Okay. Is a little tricky where I want to maximize the counters on Mako before activating him. So then it's add mana from FOMO, but harmonize with Mako. And then add mana from Mako.
Yes.
So we do that. And then discard 2 to make it super big. So pretty easy discards here because we drew the Braid as well, which is great because now we can do everything.
Yeah. So yeah, we have 6 mana, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And then the first thing is just profs, just to see what we draw.
Yeah, because you could find another Cauldron, and that way you just play Cauldron and your guys make more mana.
Yeah,
And
always
you can
forget.
win turn again, and yeah.
And then play the Cauldron, play the profs and draw a FOMO. So here is interesting because I only made 1 red. I probably should have made 2 red, just to anticipate for it. Is we can only do 2 things. So here I'm inclined to pop the Cauldron and bounce the Scholar, so then we just put a lot of damage on them.
Yeah, definitely a brain on the Mako, I think.
Oh, interesting. A braid on the
You could also just abrade the Cauldron.
Yep, abrade the
right.
Either we abrade the Cauldron or the Mako. I think we have to get rid of the Cauldron regardless, so they can't catch up.
Yeah. So you can like flood more Riddler, abrade the Cauldron, and you drew 4 cards. So you put 4 counters, right?
1, 2.
Sorry,
3,
no,
4.
you drew more than that. Never mind. 7 cards at least, right?
I think so. Yeah, I did 7. Yeah. Interesting. Why would you bounce Riddler over Scholar? Is it because
we'll bounce Riddler because it's way more mana, more mana. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Riddler is not something that can really like recast as a creature that stays as a blocker. Whereas Scholar, like they can cast double Scholar, for example, next turn
and rip through,
and they cannot cast.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense because I was thinking like Riddler is just a much better card, so I'd rather kill it through combat. But what you say makes more sense. If we kill the Soul Cauldron and then bounce the Riddler, they keep the Scholar and block with the Mako on the second combat because they take 10 and then block. So it's interesting that we want to make them spend their mana more, which makes sense. So here we do the thing, take the easy way, which is just make it big and attack.
You could also arguably here untap Mako, so you kind of spread your power more, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
So like you attack for 10, they probably just take.
Yeah.
And then you can put you still put the counters there, which is super reasonable. I mean, it's kind of the same outcome at the end, right? Because you just attack for 10 instead of 12, but yeah.
That's interesting though.
I'm really the same outcome, yeah.
I'm not good at untapping other things with FOMO, which is important a part of your guide, which was like the sequencing when you have 2 FOMOs, like untapping one, then untapping the other, or like having pseudo vigilance. I never think about that. I always think about like the 1 turn kill with the profs, but it's very important. So here they play FOMO, and then Steamcore Scholar. And then we win. On the note of sideboarding, looking for that obscure uncommon sideboard card you don't want to crack packs for but nobody stocks? Check out Mana Pool, a super convenient marketplace to find any cards you want at a good price without feeling guilty about it.
You know what I'm talking about.
So I sideboarded like this. I have 2 Spell Pierces, 1 Annul, and 1 Riddler. And I think we cut 3 Vivis and 1 Winter Knight. Which I think is what your guy recommended.
Yeah, I don't remember if I'd updated it also with the super latest iteration of the deck with torches, but okay, on the draw, the like torch of the torch tower is fine. Like on the play, I cut all of them for sure. On the draw, I think I will probably still cut some. Like you could probably keep in a Winter Knight instead of 1 torch. That's probably what I would do. But it's it's kind of close because sometimes when they have the Mako Star, it's super aggro. It's just it's super important having torch, and it also lines up quite well when they go for Scholar and try to put counters on it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think Spell Pierce is super important here because we know the most important cards coming on turn 2 and on the draw. That's our only way to answer it. So we definitely want those.
Then, one more note about Pierce is that of course it's good at stopping the 2 mana turn 2 key pieces, let's say, but also later in the game, like your opponent often in the mirror match plays like super tight on mana. So for example, they pass by leaving up 1 mana for Floodmo, just to bounce your Cauldron or to bounce your big attacker. But then you have Pierce, which punishes them very, very hard. Like it happens more often than one might think of.
Yeah, that's why I love Pierce over like 3 annuls, even though like annuls hit like a lot of really good cards. Pierce just also has a wide range of stuff that like it's just good against. It could stop an Elspeth, stop a board wipe, any random thing. People are just like, they have to respect it. Like they don't respect it, even though they know it, just because it's just in the deck. If you like what you've been hearing so far, there's a lot more information in Lorenzo's great Cauldron guide that is a must-have for fellow Cauldron grinders. Lorenzo also offers private coaching for $50 if you want to brush up on your skills before an event. So here is game 2 on the draw. This hand was really fascinating because I think when I looked at it initially, it looks really weak. Just like all we have is a Mako, a Pierce, and a Profs. But then I thought about like what we want to do, and this hand's like actually kind of good. In the sense that we have a turn 1 Pierce to answer their potential threat. We have our most important card, which is Profs, already in hand that we could protect, and also like a little threat. It's not great, but it is a thing we could play. So I ultimately kept it, even though it's a little like heavy on lands. What do you think?
Yeah. I feel like the cool thing of this deck is that it has very, very good flood insurance, right? Like if you draw Scholar, Winter Knight, like also FOMO, they like let you loot away excess lands and probably find spells. So like, of course, you need to find one of these cards, but once you find the first one, you often start chaining them and then you'll very hardly flood. So I really like, okay, sure, this is not the dream hand, but I'd be very happy to keep this on 7.
Yeah.
It's quite solid.
That's what I love about this one, because it just looks kind of silly. But it's actually quite good. So they start with a Thundering Falls, and then I play an island. I thought about this like for a hot second, just because I thought this is like, it's very telegraphed to me. Like it's telegraphed that we have a null or a Spell Pierce. But we also just have to do it.
Yeah.
And here they play a FOMO, which is the one like card that punishes us because we don't have an answer for it. But at the same time, we don't die to it immediately. So great draw. But here we still have to hold up the Pierce just to respect the thing. I think the play is to play the Mako, just so that next turn we can FOMO pump Mako. I don't know why that I end up playing Thundering Falls, but I just do.
Okay.
And then they play a Spire Bluff Canal and play a Soul Cauldron, which we hit with the Spell Pierce.
Yeah. Here, the interesting thing is that they are also leaving up their own annual. So we might try to bait it by going like Mako FOMO instead of Mako Proft, which is what I would usually do.
That's exactly what I'm about to talk through. Is that because they left that blue open so suspiciously, it's interesting because it sucks losing FOMO, but I think like profs is the way we win the game. So we kind of have to like test it by offering the FOMO. And if FOMO sticks, then we're good to play profs afterwards. But if not, we don't lose the profs.
Yeah.
So here is a Mako. And I like that you just knew it's a null. It was clear either it was like a null FOMO or a null Pierce or Flood Maw.
Yeah. The cool thing about Pierce, like from our perspective here, is that next turn we can also like we have 4 mana. So yeah, we can pay for it.
Yeah. And the thing about Pierce is I also wanted to get out my hand earlier because now they've hit the stage where like their spell is going to resolve.
Yeah.
So this is what we wanted. We take 3 here and then draw another Pierce. So pretty simple turn. Play profs.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, like, yeah, probably would have played the land just to, in case they have Pierce, just play 2.
Yeah.
But I mean, we were still fine because we had Pierce.
But we don't want to like blow it.
Exactly.
We could have spent it later.
Exactly.
So go attack for 2. When this Flood Maw is really good because now this kind of like denies their like 1 turn kill with the FOMO. So great draw and a way to protect it with Pierce. Here's a Mako. And then
Winter Knight.
So this is bad.
Yeah.
This is a tough hand to beat. It's not terrible, like we don't lose, but it's with our hand is not great.
Let's see also here if they. Okay, yeah, I think I would have seen at least what they chose with the first prof trigger.
Yeah.
Right, because if they put, because now they put the counters on something that is gonna stick. Right, but like if they went to the beginning of combat, then they can put the prof's counters on the FOMO to push in damage, and then you can just Flood Maw it, and they just basically lose this draw 2 that they had this turn.
Yeah, I fired off too early because I know they don't even have Delirium, but I was just like so concerned about the tap trigger. But you're right, we should have just waited till that. So potentially they could make the decision to put it on something on the FOMO.
Yeah.
So we draw a Soul Cauldron, but no Vivi to put it under.
Still fine because we get to eat Winter Knight. And also the fact that they didn't, harmonize Winter Knight tells me that they most likely have either an Annul Pierce or a Flood Maw to stop us from going Cauldron Vivi.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like we instantly go Agatha, exile Winter Knight here. And knowing that they have some type of interaction.
So here's a silly thing I did, because I thought we were pretty behind, is I thought maybe I could let them try to play FOMO and play other spells and Winter Knight where I could catch them with the Spell Pierce. But they just end up doing the right play anyways. Yeah, so here should have just eaten the Winter Knight Stories of the Soul Cauldron.
Yeah, because imagine their hand was, I don't know, like FOMO and only lands. Like this way, we let them like dig more through the deck and smooth their hand furthermore.
Yeah, and actually with the profs, it's really, really bad. So
yeah.
Got too cute with it and then mega punished. And then they bring back another Winter Knight Stories. Yeah, they try and harmonize it, and then we Spell Pierce it. And then here, I eat a FOMO and not the other Winter Knight Stories.
Yeah, exiling Winter with the Soul Cauldron is usually quite nice.
Yeah, I don't exactly know why I didn't eat the other Winter Night Stories. Maybe I'm tired. Oh, here it is. That's why I did it on end step, and now I'm gonna eat it here.
All right, yeah, here it doesn't look great. They have 6 cards in hand, nice board presence. But yeah, here the biggest difference between, like, look at also the cards in the deck. Like, our opponent has 35 cards in the deck, and we have 45. So they were able to dig through 10 more cards than we did.
Yeah.
So card flow is very important in this matchup, because you just see more cards, you trigger prof more, and that's how you usually win.
And not eating that profs or that Winter Night Stories actually led to a 6-card difference, which is pretty huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen the word card flow like mentioned until this deck was in the meta game. Then I see a lot of people talking about card flow, which is very interesting. So they put it on the Scholar. Here we have to bounce it.
Yeah.
And then take 2. And then it's pretty over. Yeah, there's no, maybe there's like a draw we could hit. Maybe like we get it Winter Night Stories. That's really lucky, but at this point it's over. If you want the best system for competitive play with magnetic pieces to lock in your play space, check out Heavy Play with this affiliate code for 10% off. This directly benefits the channel, so please support it. Here's our first hand, obviously not keepable, so very easy to get rid of.
Yeah, and one little side note is, on the play, I would definitely cut the torches.
Because we're trying to tap out our mana, right? And not...
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, whereas on the draw, it's close. On the play, I would definitely, trim on them, bring back maybe like the 4th Riddler, Winter Night, like cards that help us to do the card flow thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've been trying to improve on like thinking about how the cards line up to like what the plan is on the play draw difference, and I think that's like a pretty big one. Where, I think you could argue that you want to have the torches to remove their key threats, but our game on the play is to be aggressive and just like present the problems, I guess. And torch doesn't really do that.
Yeah.
So this hand, totally keepable. We have FOMO. We have 1 Vivi and the Winter Night Stories, so we could potentially find a card that either pays off either of the cards on the left over here. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, if it was on 7, I would mulligan, but since we're already on 6,
exactly. Yeah,
it's because like, sure, especially the fact that we are post sideboard and they have answer for our turn to Proft, kind of makes me want to have as many resources as I can. Like, if this was game 1, maybe I could consider also going to 5, looking for like 2 lands, Proft, and like Scholar type of hand. But yeah, the fact that we are on the draw, the fact that we are post sideboard, and despite we're on the play, they might have an answer for our turn to Proft. So yeah, it's fine having a hand that flows a bit.
And that's like the hard part about this matchup, is that it can go either ways. Like, it can go in a very fast game or a very long game, and you kind of have to respect both. And the only way you can really respect both is through like having some amounts of card flow or card draw, right? And seeing what the deck gives you. So it is a keep. It's a not that reluctant, but it's not like the best 6 ever, right? It just has all the pieces that we want. I probably want to play the passage first.
Yeah, probably name blue with that. Yeah.
So they have turn 1 Mako, and then here is a really good draw. And then I make a really important screw up here. So I thought about this a lot. Basically, I was concerned. I was trying to like gauge if my opponent's gonna have a Soul Cauldron or not. Because if they don't have a Soul Cauldron, then this turn, if I go FOMO pitch Vivi, Soul Cauldron next turn, it's a really good line. I think the line should be Soul Cauldron first and then FOMO on turn 3.
Yeah.
But I was banking the entire kind of like line of thought on what they would have and trying to like leverage the advantage of being on the play. So
yeah, the way they played is interesting because they went Spiral of Mako, so they have blue mana available on turn 1, but
they didn't hold it up.
They played Mako, so this means that they don't have a null nor Pierce. Like the chance they have it is 0%, I'd say. So we don't have to be scared of one of those counters, of course, unless they draw it next turn. But next turn they will very likely tap out for either Proft or Cauldron, unless they want to leave up mana for Abrade to Abrade our Cauldron. And yeah, here I always like playing Cauldron because as you say, like if we go FOMO discard Vivi, they might have their own Cauldron, and then we kind of lose. So I like playing Cauldron and hoping they go either for FOMO or Proft, and then we try to do our thing.
Yeah. So that is the right way to do it. And I'm going to keep saying the right way because you're about to see me put a FOMO into the graveyard, and we can assume where this goes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they do have a Cauldron.
Cauldron. Yeah.
So this is super bad now. And I think this is one of the hard parts about this deck is like sometimes I evaluate trying to like high roll it or gamble too much. Because there's parts of it that feels kind of like a combo deck, but essentially you don't have to because your fail case is that you lose. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of view this matchup especially like a game of chess, kind of. Where like game 1, if you're on the play, is like being the white in chess that has maybe a slight advantage. I'm not an expert of chess, of course, but like since you're able to develop your pieces earlier, you should have a slight advantage. But on the post side, again, like even if you're on the draw, you're still fine-ish because you have a null and Pierce. So it's I don't know. You kind of view like a chess game because you want to develop your pieces and you play the same pieces as your opponent basically. So yeah,
interesting.
I view it that way.
Yeah, and it's because it's the same not exactly the same 75, but very similar cards. That the chess analogy is like we can read each other's moves almost pretty face up with some amounts of hidden information and make decisions around that. That's really, really interesting. So here we're in a really, really tough spot anyways. Here, I mean, we just have to play the Soul Cauldron, but they're going to eat our Vivi no matter what. And then play the Mako.
Yeah, one thing that is interesting here is that they didn't take Vivi. So this means that they probably don't have anything that costs 2 mana or less. Because if they had like, I don't know, like even Riddler, like Riddler, Prof, Abrade, FOMO, they could have like exiled Vivi, make 2 mana with a Mako, and play the card. So their hand is probably like, it's made of like more expensive cards, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's a really good read. Interesting. Yeah, I'm just so bad at the moment still like reading my opponent's hand with this deck because it's just like there's just so much to think about with this. But an important skill to practice.
Yeah, and one question: what was your read that made you play the FOMO over Cauldron? Like, what card were you scared of, or what type of interaction did you think of?
So, I was afraid. It wasn't so much what I was afraid of, like what read they have. I was just trying to see if I can sneak the win through. Like, if you don't have Soul Cauldron, then I'm in like a pretty good spot. But they also could have a braid. They have a lot of like ways to answer the Soul Cauldron actually the turn afterwards. So it probably wasn't that super good of an idea. But that was basically it. Was just more of a gamble to see how to win. But I think like obviously aside from the fact that they did have a Soul Cauldron, even if they didn't, I think thinking through like all the lines, it just doesn't make as much sense to throw it there and play the Soul Cauldron first.
Yeah, I think it's a bit like in game 1, right? Where, I'd rather choose a path that doesn't let us die to a card that they have 4 copies. If that makes sense. Like just playing your Cauldron, sure, they have a braid, then of course they just abrade the Cauldron. In this case, they should probably abrade the Cauldron at sorcery speed because you might have Spell Pierce. And if they play their own Cauldron, they're still, they can still get punished by our own Floodmaw. Because, we can go full, like Floodmaw their Cauldron, then FOMO discard Vivi and do the thing. And if we don't find Floodmaw, for example, like here, we could have just gone like Winter Knight, smooth our hand, trying to find a braid maybe. And so that then on turn 4, we can try to go for it while keeping in check our opponent's Cauldron.
Yeah, I think the issue, aside from just trying to like gamble for no reason, is we don't have to, like, we can play patiently, right? Like our hand allows us to play patiently, and it already has all the tools. So I think it goes back to like what you're saying about earlier is we have to abrade that Cauldron on turn 2 in game 1 because we don't want to expose ourselves to the one situation where they can win the game immediately there, right? And here we expose ourselves to losing the game to the Cauldron for no good reason, because we just weren't patient. I think that's like to me that's like the bigger issue, aside from like aside from the fact that like I think it's like a matchup expertise issue. Like I just didn't even think about it. I think the overall problem was that I wasn't patient and just didn't evaluate like the risk enough. So they took the Vivi, and then what happens here is they play FOMO, pitch a land. I assume they drew the FOMO.
That's possible, yeah.
And then play Scholar, pitch Sanctuary and Island, and attack for 5. So we're just gonna take it here. It's not exactly the worst situation. It's not good, but it's not terrible. Because they didn't play profs or like Cheetah Dragon or like Winter Knight and all that stuff. They just got to play 2 creatures. So here we can Floodmaw the Soul Cauldron just to stop it, and then Winter Knight Stories to try to see how we hit. Yeah,
that makes sense. You can try hit our own Vivi, hoping they don't have Floodmaw.
Yeah, so here's the thing I forgot. I think I put one more copy of Vivi, but I was playing as if I had 4 Vivis.
Okay.
But
true, because we ruled out 3. Yeah.
So that was another issue of why like we just don't want to like throw out that Vivi as quickly, because there's less Vivis in the deck. But regardless, I think we have to just get rid of the Soul Cauldron first.
Yeah, since we have no more Vivis, it's probably fine going for Winter Knight first. Like, sure, they're gonna exile our Winter Knight if we attempt to bounce Cauldron, but
they're gonna do it anyways, right?
Exactly. They'll just do it later, probably. Like, sure, it kind of puts them, like, it kind of forces them to play Cauldron if they want to get rid of our Winter Knight in the graveyard. But yeah, we're not in a, I don't know. I don't think we're in a that great of a spot. Like their board presence is better, and they also have more cards in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have
Like
a board presence.
Thing,
no, go ahead.
Yeah, the biggest thing. Okay, here appears interesting. There's also a debate for which you might
just let it happen.
Just leave them have the Vivi try to develop with Winter Knight, because we're so far behind that we need to hope they draw lands.
Yeah, I thought about it. Like I thought about that too. Because even if we bounce the Vivi and deny them the mana, they already spent that mana to put down a board, and our board is just not very impressive. And if we were able to Winter Knight Stories, at least our Mako goes a little bit bigger. There's a chance that they don't draw well. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. So play an island here, and then their turn. They attack with the Scholar and the Shark. I'm keeping the creatures.
They pass without playing land. Interesting.
Yeah. So this part was sort of interesting. Riddler draws for 2. But then if I save the Riddler's Warp for next turn, if I survive, then I can maybe Winter Knight Warp the Riddler. But the issue is they still have a Soul Cauldron in hand. So if they replay Soul Cauldron, they'll eat the Winter Knight. The other thing is Winter Knight sees more cards and potentially lets us hit the land drop and draw, I don't know, more removal. So I actually couldn't tell what was exactly the right decision here because we're so far behind.
Yeah, I feel like the card we're looking for the most here is Flood Mode to bounce Mako. And I mean, even Proft will help because we make FOMO bigger than Mako. Because we go like Riddler, Proft, so we draw at least 3 cards. But again, since they pass with 3 mana up, I feel like, I mean, we know one card that is Cauldron, but they didn't even play it. So there's 3 other spells, which could be some 3-drops. Especially, it's very likely 3-drops because, as we read at the beginning, since they didn't go for like the Cauldron activation right away when they could, like they probably have 3-drops and also some counters like a Null. So even if we find Proft, it's probably not gonna stick onto the battlefield. So the best draw is probably just Flood Mode to kind of time walk them on the Mako.
Yeah, and then try to like crawl back somehow. I guess Torch is also kind of okay because no, it's not. We have to deal with the 5/5. So Winter Knight Stories is
right there. It is nice.
Yeah. So this part was really hard to figure out. We can discard creature. I'll discard a creature's card. I could pitch the Riddler, which would then let us have Profs and Into the Flood Maw. We definitely need to keep the Into the Flood Maw, right? That's clear. Profs lets us win the game with FOMO, but the issue to me is that we're so far behind. Not that, but we are far behind where I'd rather try to draw more cards off of Riddler and try to like stop them that way than trying to punch through with a FOMO when they have like probably removal. That it felt really bad pitching. Like I feel like I need to pitch the land and the Profs, even though it feels bad. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Because like since we expect them to have an Annual, I feel like the only way we can recover here is with Riddler and just try to draw a bunch of cards with it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So discard those
Mhm.
two, grow our Mako, and then pass the turn.
Yeah.
Because there's no good attacks.
So they might have a braid as well. Let's see.
Yeah, so it's a
Yeah.
braid on the FOMO, obliterating bolt, which was the other card. So yeah. And then attack of everything. We have to bounce the Mako. And then our turn.
Well, one subtle thing here was that in their end of turn, like always like keep
Eat a
their
card.
graveyard
Yeah.
short of card types, for the FOMO.
Yeah.
That might look subtle, but it's like sometimes it's game winning.
That's like such an important thing about this deck is that there's so many little subtleties and advantages that you kind of have to leverage all of them, because if you miss one, it really like snowballs. So here I think we have to draw, we're gonna warp first, draw 2 cards, and then Winter Night Stories.
Yeah, here Winter Night.
We need to
draw
hit
3.
specifically land and like double removal. But we don't hit the land. Almost. It was close.
Yeah.
If we actually hit the land here and they don't have a strong follow-up, we might be able to pull this game through because of the Riddler.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
unfortunately, we didn't hit the land. So those are all our games today.
Yeah, very close game. I feel like if we went for turn 2 Cauldron, turn 3 Winter Night, this game 3,
yeah,
we could have maybe been able to find the Floodmo and then use the Vivi as a weapon of ours, right? Because like here, after I think after 1 or 2 draw steps, like you find the Floodmo.
Yeah,
and that could have been the way to go for like Floodmo, bounce their Cauldron, and then play your FOMO, discard Vivi, and from there you just try to snowball.
Yeah,
and do your thing.
Because the issue was that, obviously pitching the Vivi was the problem, but if we played as if we didn't do that, their general board state so far, like all the spells they played were not that terrifying. Like we actually had pretty good draws, and almost pulled through with the amount of cards and mana we had. So if we basically denied them of the turn, this specific turn of being able to drop all of this in one go, the game was very winnable.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else that you noticed or want to talk about for these games?
Yeah, I would say many of the lines were many of the lines you took were accurate. Like there's a lot of super subtle things that are not easy to always keep in mind. Like even the Agatha Soul Cauldron exiling the card from their graveyard at the end of turn. It's something that is very unique to this type of deck, especially because they have FOMO. So it's important to know all the smallest concepts, even using Agatha Soul Cauldron to exile the Winter Night.
That was a
as we
huge
saw
problem
in
too,
game 2. Yeah, it's all those small type of interactions in the matchup that once somebody learns, they'll always know about them. And then it's a game of pattern recognition, you see Winter Night Stories in your opponent's graveyard and you're like, okay, if I can exile it, I will likely do so. And then the next step is thinking, okay, I probably want to exile Winter Night, but what's the reason that maybe I don't want to do so? Maybe your opponent has no creature onto the battlefield and you're just like, okay, sure, I just keep this Cauldron up. Maybe they go FOMO discard Vivi Cauldron, so I want to keep up my Cauldrons so that they cannot do this thing. And there's many reasons that then follow up after you think about a specific scenario.
Yeah. I think with most decks I play, I try to like play enough repetitions where like some of that stuff becomes more automatic. I think the issue that I have with this deck is just, again, there's so many lines and options that I get so distracted. Sometimes I think of like one line, I'm like, I'm going to commit to that. And then like don't really think about the rest of the game, which is a general issue that I have. And I think it's like even bigger for a deck like this that presents you options.
Yeah, this deck has a lot of different choices, and starting from the sequencing, but also like the micro sequencing of like which card to exile with Agatha, Soul Cauldron, and so on.
Hey, if you like this video, please support my Patreon to keep funding more coaches to be a part of the series. In the future, there'll be a lot more gameplay and coaching content coming. So you definitely want to subscribe to learn more on how to improve at Magic and see some tight play. Want more standard content? Check out this great coaching session with fellow Worldly Council team member Mortadella with Esper Pixie.